Hello, everyone. Welcome to another podcast of Pointed in the Right Direction book. Um, Today, we have Lamonte Wilcox with a fly on the podcast, and we are going to hear about his movement, I'm going to call it. He's changing the world, of which it seems like the people that step up and a lot of times are creating things through our own personal struggles and wanting to make a change to make the world a better place. Um, that's why I do what I do because of my own personal struggle. And I've been blessed in the fact that I have prosthesis, and where the majority within my world of finger partial hand amputation do not get one because of other people's thoughts of the fact that your fingers are only a cosmetic item and you really don't need them. But of course, that's someone with 10 fingers that doesn't realize everything their fingers do. So, with that, let's welcome Lamonte Wilcox and fly us through
Mhm.
how your story of how you created Fly. What was the backstory there?
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, I think you're totally on point with this concept that we all have these different challenges and they create who we are. And when you think about it, people have a choice when they have a challenge. And but that choice is often not understood or really clear. It's hard to make a choice if you don't really see the clarity around it. And if you look at the great influencers of the world, I don't think you can find one. I've been searching, and I don't think you can find one that didn't go through some really hard stuff that got them to dig deep into who they are, to question their reality, question who they are, and create a new experience for themselves first, and then sharing that out to the world. And I think it's if we could literally all of us could grasp that concept that our suffering and things that happen that create our pains are literally there to take us to a new place, we man, we would all we and now that I've been able to work with hundreds and hundreds of people to change their lives with the different mental struggles they have, I can see how this inability to see that choice is the underlying core issue with all of us, is that we tend to fight against these struggles and these difficulties that we have. And I did that for years and years. Was in a situation where the struggle was intense and there was a lot of different mental health struggles going on within me and my family, my children and their mom, having some really complex things that all we were taught was that it was something we were just going to have to cope with, that we were just going to have to deal with it and cope through it and get through to the next day. And that was something I could understand because I grew up in a scenario where it was all about being tough. I grew up in the 80s, 70s and 80s, and it was about being tough. And I grew up and moved to a small town where it was a bunch of farmers, and man, you learned how to just, rub dirt in it if there's a problem and just move on and get to the next day. And so what my brain learned to do is it learned to cope with and deal with things in a way that got me through the next day. And
Eh,
go ahead.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you just said. The suck up buttercup, pull up your bootstraps and get on with life and we buried things. And within
Yeah.
my world, um, and it within my world of amputation and physical appearance challenges, it's been that way since the dawn of time. You go back to the Bible, and the lepers and all of that were put off, hidden from society. And we need to learn to share our stories, talk about them, embrace them, and on the flip side, the individuals welcome everyone else's stories and help them get through their struggles.
Yeah. Yeah. And another way that I like to put that is that we want to value our struggles. We want to put value to our struggles. We devalue our experience. And to kind of go on with my story is that it put me in a place where I had so many struggles. I was so unaware that not being able to sleep at night for 7 years straight for maybe three and a half hours average, was because of anxiety. It was a buildup of all these things, and my mind couldn't stop, and I didn't understand, and I wasn't able to make a choice out of it because I didn't see things in a way that gave me a choice. And that's where our program comes into play. Because what I started to learn is when I started to learn about the psychology and then the neurology behind what is going on. When I started to learn what these neurochemicals were and how to understand that our nervous system is trying to talk to us with these emotions, these mental patterns, is trying to teach us something. But we go around saying, "Oh, I don't like this feeling. I don't want that. It's painful, it's suffering," and we try to escape it. And then we see that our society has taught us that we're not supposed to have pain. Pain is bad. Suffering is bad. So we need to get over it. And so they've created a whole network of systems to try to help us get out of our pain, to help us get out of our struggle. And so I was caught. My family and I had tried all types of things to help us with these struggles. We tried going to therapy and therapists. We tried medications. We tried alternative ways of getting over these issues. And what I realized over time, when I started to learn the neuroscience behind it, I started to get the perspective from a neuroscientist point of view. And the way they looked at it is that the reason that people aren't trying to, or the reason people aren't successful at truly overcoming these mental struggles is because their definition of the problem is inaccurate. If you're a scientist, you know the value of defining the problem. Because if you don't define the problem accurately, you're not going to solve the problem. When you think you've solved the problem, you won't have solved the problem. And that's what they see with our kind of the world of psychology, the world of mental struggles. They think that the world thinks that it's all about removing the pain and suffering. And what I learned from the neuroscientists is that it's not about removing the pain or suffering. It's about understanding the message it's trying to convey. And when you take in the message, you value the pain and suffering, and you take in the message it's trying to convey, it changes you. It changes your neurology. It changes your whole system and functioning of your system. And you're getting to the core of the real problem, and that is our wiring. It's how our brain has been connected. And one of the most fascinating things I learned that changed my life forever is that all these mental struggles, according from the perspective of a neuroscientist, is are there the thing we might mention things like anxiety, depression, OCD, even personality disorders, eating disorders, um, all these different mental struggles, and it goes on and on. And the way they see it is that those are actually the real problem is that they're neural addictions of the brain. They're actually an addiction in the brain to keep doing it. And on the conscious level, we're like, oh no, that no way, I don't want this. But on a subconscious level, our mind is completely addicted to that thing. If we're feeling depressed, if we have OCD, if we are anxious, if we're angry, if we're upset, like any of these emotions are actually addictions in the brain. And when I put this together and I started to learn this, it changed me so much, like at the core of who I was. And as I shared it with other people, I saw the change in them. And and I thought there's more to this. I really want to learn this. And so as I started to get into my own thinking, I realized, what the difference was between the way I lived life, which was an average life of success. I think I was maybe above, I mean, I wouldn't say average, probably above average in my life as far as the success goes financially and in my life with my family and different things, but mostly in this case financially. I realized I had these patterns of thinking that were keeping me at this limit, this way of thinking that kept me being controlled by my superiors or my bosses and the people above me and all these different companies. I'd worked for about 5 different companies in 7 years, and and trying to work my way up to better pay and better scenarios and situations. And this when I started to learn this stuff about myself, I said I am way more capable than what this is. If I can let go of these boundaries, I am way more capable. And I literally, I know this sounds crazy, but I left my career of 20 years with no plan and no money in the bank and bills to pay. And and I got in my head, and by understanding and following this nervous system, what it was teaching me, within a few months, I had built a company. And it's not the company I run now. It's a temporary company because I knew I needed to learn more. I wanted to learn more about this neurology and about this psychology. I wanted to help people. There were people in my life suffering even more, and it was complex, and I wanted to get to that. And so I left this career. I started a business with my daughter, and I calculated I was making about 7 times what I had been making before within about 4 months of leaving that job, because I learned how to get into what my brain was trying to say. And the only difference between those of us who are, I mean, for the people here on this planet that are really truly successful in life and the ones that aren't, is just mental processing. It's how they think, it's how they see the world and how they interact with it. And I was able to tap into that, make a lot of money really fast. And my goal was to dive back into this research. And so I spent about 8 months. I started that business, then I let that I got a bunch of money in the bank, and then I just kind of let that go while I just dove into this, because again, there was still suffering around me. And there was still some suffering going on inside of me. I was starting to realize more about what was going on inside of me and realize there was suffering going on that I wasn't aware of. And so I started to pursue this. And for 8 months, I did it all day, every day. I studied and researched everything I could get my hands on. I took courses from some of the prestigious colleges that were online. And most people don't know you can go to take courses from Yale for $50 a course, and you don't get credit, but you get to learn everything they're teaching. And I got to take all kinds of coaching courses and classes, and learned a lot about different psychology, some of the most powerful stuff, neuro linguistic programming. I got to take, and all along I was analyzing why people's systems didn't work, and I just have a nature inside me to be critical of systems and recognize patterns. And my brain picked out a bunch of pieces and parts and was able to fill those gaps. And I put together this model, and and I was doing it through my nervous system, by the way. I was listening to it. I was listening to it teach me. We teach people this black and white way of understanding what our nervous system is trying to say. And I put together this model, and I was able to share it with a doctor in Lehigh that was specialized in traumatic brain injury. And he had an enormous uh, need to help people, because when people get brain injuries, it almost always flares up some type of mental struggles. And part of that reason is because the brain goes into these neural addictions that are in the brain when it can't function well. And so I spoke to him and told him about this model that I created. And I was so confident at how it could help people by having this deeper understanding of what was going on. And so he sent me a few of his patients, and they were some that had some pretty severe struggles. One that was suicidal, had multiple suicide attempts. one that had a personality disorder, and then a third one. And I met with these people, and within within one day, I spent the whole day teaching them these principles. There's this concept of being able to remove these layers and get down to the core that I would use to get to that deeper understanding of self that they were looking for. And when they found it, it shifted the core and foundation of who they were. And so much so that the next visit to the doctor, he saw a totally different person and that was completely changed. The one that was suicidal said, I don't know what I was thinking. That makes absolutely no sense in my brain. I would never do that again. I know why I feel the way I feel. I know these things. And I don't, it doesn't work anymore in my head to think these kind of thoughts or to have and even feel the depression and the anxieties that I felt. It's like they don't make sense. And he was really excited about it, and he invited me to open an office in his clinic and start working with all of his patients. And I'm not a doctor. I don't have a license of any type. I fall under the category of mental wellness coaching, and I just taught people. I don't tell people what to do. I literally just taught them what I learned. Here's what I learned about the brain. Here's how it works. And I got to do this for 2 years in this office. And for 2 years, I got to help hundreds and hundreds of people. And that doctor kept track of our patients. Of his patients, he said he had over a 96% success rate with clients over those 2 years. A ridiculous number that's unheard of in mental wellness. And so my daughter and I, she started working with me about a year into that, and for a year she started coming with me and learning this process. And we decided the whole time we're thinking, how do we get to this to more people? Like working with people one-on-one is a bottleneck. So we started to build a program that would help people. And meanwhile, but while I was doing that, I had a handful of those clients come back to me and say, how did you do that? I have worked on this for years and years, and I've struggled for years, and I've done therapy for years, and I've done this for years, and I've done things like alternative ways of trying to work with that, emotional release techniques and energy work and all these different things. And yet in one day, the whole thing was gone. All my trauma was gone, or all my, all this stuff was. And so they started pressing me to teach them what I did. And so I put together a program to teach facilitators. And now we've trained about 70 facilitators in our program. We have a full program that it's a 3-month program that people can get into. We've started a community, and it's like you said, we started a movement. And the people that are in our program have the most miraculous stories that people can't even imagine of how their nervous system has changed. We've had people with seizures who have their seizures have just stopped. And we have people who've had OCD that couldn't even leave their house, and they get up and just embrace the experience. They start to understand. It's that knowledge. I mentioned earlier that you can't make a choice if you don't, and I'll put it another way, that if your nervous system doesn't believe that it will meet the chemical needs of the brain by a different choice, it doesn't see it as an option. It is not a viable option unless it sees it. And that's what we do in this model is we give people these viable options to choose differently. They're actually so enticing, they almost can't not choose it. That's the goal. And then we teach them how to do it within themselves. And you mentioned it's the FLY model, we call it. And the acronym stands for our company's name, which is Fulfill Life Yourself. And it's about doing it yourself. It's that inner work that no one can do for us. Someone can walk us through stuff, they can teach us stuff, but our brains are way too complex for anyone to be around us enough to be able to get these core changes done at the real. So what we do, we teach it to someone as we do it, which is very different than most any other program out there. It's like, here's what you do inside yourself. This is the process I'm using with you, and watch what it does. Now you do it. You do the same one and watch what it does. Get good at it. And so that's what we do. And it's been just miraculous. We've had over 700 people now that have learned our model, and we have over a 90% satisfaction rate because we give a money back guarantee to people, which is unheard of that I know of in the mental wellness and mental health, arena anywhere that someone will give money back, and yet we have that high of a success rate. And there's a whole psychological, reasoning behind all that we want to teach people so that they'll stay in. We get rid of their self-sabotage. We get rid of their the self-talk, the things, the stories in their mind, all these different things. We help them learn processes to get those things out of the way so they can move forward with all their power, to be totally empowered with their experience and overcome these patterns in their mind. They're just patterns in our mind. It's so hard to comprehend that until you grasp some of these principles. And there's a certain process to grasping those principles, and that's what we need, that's what we use. So we're really excited for your listeners to be to be exposed to the possibilities that they maybe haven't seen a choice in doing before. So we appreciate I appreciate your going out there and putting this podcast out and meeting you at the event. And so I want to open up to if you have any questions or if there's
Uh, oh, I have several questions. I say we don't know what we don't know. And, you know, that is the simple truth. And it's been that way since the dawn of time. Again, because what was it? Uh, uh, you know, 500, 600 years ago, everyone thought the world was flat. And
yeah.
then just in my own study this morning, I was reading about and thinking back to the solar system and stuff, and how um, years ago they found Pluto and they thought Pluto was the outer limits of the solar system. But now they have these huge telescopes and they're sending them out and finding the solar system just keeps going and going and going. And again, it's that, but I know within my world, and you hit on it, Tony Robbins. It was through his struggles that he developed his program. And all the big guys, it is that, just like I'm a small person here, but it's through my own struggles that I am trying to make life better for the people within my world. I
Which
wrote
makes your world a better place for
a
you,
100%.
right?
And,
Yeah.
and we need to, again, embrace those struggles, share those struggles with everyone. I haven't walked in your shoes, you haven't walked in my shoes, but we can have empathy and compassion for each other and listen to each other's story and reach out and give a hand to help through each other's stories. So, one question, and you have an event on April 22nd here in
Mm-hmm.
Salt Lake Sandy area that you'll
Mm-hmm.
be having, but we'll talk about that for a second. But
Mm-hmm.
also, do you do things online? How is the training and stuff for people that aren't right here in our neck of the woods, call it?
Yeah, great. Yeah, our goal as a company is to reach as many people as we can at the highest level. And so the whole time we've designed our programs, it's been to be able to help people that are both nearby and that live far away. And so every part of our program is available online, and we'll often do it we'll have live in-person groups, and we'll have something set up in the back so that that with a screen with all their faces on it, and they join on Zoom. So we try to make it as encompassing and welcoming as possible with everybody that's online or on Zoom. Some of the things we just do straight on Zoom with everybody, but to answer your question about the event, This upcoming event, we are going to do it in person. And if someone can't, well, actually, so we haven't done this for a while, but we are planning to do some live streaming from this event on Tuesday for those who are not local. And this is the first time we've done it in over a year. So we don't do this very often where it'll be streamed live for others that are because we have a group coming in that's on the East Coast, and so that's going to be available this time. We always tell people if you can come in person, come in person. There's going to be a pretty good sized group this time, and it's always fun to have people in person. But we are it's I think it's 6 o'clock, 6:30, 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock tomorrow, or I mean the 22nd, and and we're really excited to have people just come and hear. What we're going to do is we know that what we explain to people creates literally miracles, what's considered miracles in the industry. And so it's an abstract thing. It's a bit for the brain to take on and to understand. And so this event is to help people have some experience with it so that they can understand more deeply what we're doing. We're going to go through some experiences that we use in our model and we use in our program. It's literally the first steps into the program, and let them feel in and teach them about tapping into that nervous system that they have to see what that nervous system is saying. And then from there, we're going to offer that if their nervous system is telling them to move forward in the other offerings that we have, the other programs that we have, and to continue down that path. And we work with everybody no matter what their financial situation is. We really want to get this out to people. And uh so that's what we're doing tomorrow night. It's one of my funnest events that I just love to do, is to introduce people to things, give their brain some options that they couldn't see before, so that they can actually exercise that agency that's been given us, but it's limited. It's limited to what we're exposed to. So it's literally about getting people exposed to something new. We don't put pressure on people at all. If it's something that resonates with them, then we help them to move forward and to do more with our company if they want to, with our programs. But we also will give resources to anything that they're interested in. But again, we don't turn people away for financial reasons. So, but we also understand everybody's brain's different, and that's why we do this event. You come to this event, if you're curious about this and you come to this event, you will have a really high probability of understanding if this is going to help you or not. And our statistics are really high, as that probability is over 90% chance of being accurate.
And yeah, our bodies are designed to heal themselves. And that
Yeah.
is our mind. And our mind, that's the tricky part of it. The mind is thinking it's protecting or healing itself. So
Hmm.
it creates these thought patterns
Hmm.
that stop us from going above because, oh, what might happen? And um, I believe in the Almighty God, and we can, the potential that we typically, the average person, taps into is such a small potential as to what we honestly are capable of because of our limiting beliefs.
Yes, absolutely. That is one of the key points, is to open up and give us a process that helps us excitingly look at and understand our limiting beliefs, our belief systems, the walls and the boundaries at which our mind try is always trying to stay within. Because that's literally what we are doing, is we're trying to play it safe. It's like going bowling, and you go bowling and you're like, well, I'm just going to play it safe because I only have so many balls I can throw. I'm going to throw up those side rails to make sure that I have a higher chance of hitting those pins. And we don't take the risk. We don't want to take the risk. We want to have these boundaries. Our mind wants to hold these boundaries. But our nervous system, like you said, this brain that's controlling this entire nervous system of our body is 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 running off of patterns from our childhood that are not beneficial to us. They don't help us. And we don't have like a natural system to work that out, to like understand and reprogram what has been programmed into us as children. And so that's our goal, is to help people get a vision, to add to create hope. You know, we often ask in our in this event that we have at the end is, has this added a level of new hope for you? And we get a lot of, you know, the almost everyone raise their hands, are like, wow, I have some new hope. It's because you've been introduced to something that you didn't know existed. And matter of fact, you've been taught it can't exist, that these miracles can happen, because it literally is miracles. You hear our stories, we have stories on stories. And the other thing that is exciting to talk about is the fact that we're training more and more facilitators. So for people who want to make something more of their life where they can contribute to people at just an incredible level, this is one of those options. Our facilitators get paid to facilitate other people as they go through the program. And that gets them to put their focus more on that program. And as we all know, when we help someone else, when we focus on someone else's needs or desires or wants to contribute to their life, what it does to us is it removes the boundaries of our thinking. When we're just working on ourselves, these boundaries tend to be strong. But when we go to serve someone else, those boundaries kind of come down because we care so much about that other person. And so one of the best things that someone can do as they go through our program is continue on and become a facilitator to facilitate other people and get their life focused on it. And I can tell a bunch of stories of people who are doing much better, much amazingly, miraculously better in life, because now they have people that they're serving and giving to at a high level, not just sort of. I mean, they're helping these people make massive life changes within their mental experience. And so bringing joy and peace and happiness, like, you know, the thing everybody's pursuing, but they think it's in a different direction. They think they need to, you know, accomplish all these other things to get it when it's really inside of us. And so being able to do that is also just another really exciting and fun thing to present to people, because of the help it gave me when I was going to that office and meeting with people every day that were having these struggles, and letting that help me understand myself and shift me even more was such a blessing to me that I have to provide that to everybody else that I can. And so that's another thing that they'll be learning about that may be of interest to some of them.
And yeah, again, the body's designed to heal itself. The mind creates the chemicals that it feels the body needs. And the dopamines and stuff like that, if it feels you need that pick me up, it creates that. But if it feels that you're in this struggle and is in a protection frame of mind,
Mm-hmm.
it closes up and stops you, and you live in the dark and dreary side of things.
And that's what our neuroscientists would call a neural addiction of the brain. It's not real, and and you can't tell someone it's not real. The feelings that they're experiencing are real, but they're related to that programming. The actual reality of their life and the fact that they could experience joy and peace and happiness and calm, that's what's real. That's really what's real. They could have that. But while they're in that spiral in that addiction, they can't see it. And if you can't see it, you're not going to try to get it. You're not even going to put
And,
effort.
And yeah, and it's so crazy as I've done my own personal learning and stuff, I've reflected back to circumstances and how I reacted to events that have happened in my life. And,
Mhm.
I got to put a little pun, sit there and think about things and go, wow, I can't believe I said that. Or, in that sense, but it was the picture within our head of what was right and wrong at that moment in time.
Yeah, exactly. In that moment in time, the way we put it is that's all your brain had access to. And that's the thing. We make poor choices because we don't understand how our brain works. And we actually go into the wrong area of the brain to make that choice. And that's one of the things that we teach people is like where we're processing things in our mind and what the outcome is likely to happen and how accessible the data is that we need to make that choice. When we make bad choices, we literally, it's because of the state of mind that doesn't allow us access to the data to make a better choice. It's actually that simple.
And I totally believe that within my own learning and studies and stuff, they say, you know, our reactions to events and stuff is our programming back to our childhood. And, within the first 10 years of life, we are programmed like this. We don't know.
Mhm.
And we learn. And whatever we learned at that point in time, we get into relationships with each other and stuff. And something happens and we just respond. Because again, it's back to that neural plasticity of overlaying this is what we learned at that point in time, and this is how we react. So we need to learn to reprogram those challenges.
Yeah, and you brought up a really, really valuable point, and that is how it affects our relationships. Because as the one thing that will change, I can tell every person in here that is a parent, that even if your kids are older, you will start to realize what you did as a parent that you are unaware of, that you implanted into your children that are causing their struggles and their issues now that they have. And you can reverse that in a miraculously effective and efficient way, even if your kids don't even live with you anymore. And I, without going into detail, I'll just say it is it is massively life changing. And I can tell you stories and stories over and over of people who challenged me on that and then saw it happen with their kids. Their relationships changed, everything changed. The way they communicate changed, the way that they felt about their children changed, the way that their children felt about themselves and their confidence in themselves and their ability to go out into this world and create a life that they love and enjoy completely changed. And it's simple stuff, but unless you know it, you can't choose into it. But I'll tell anybody who's got a parent out there that's got kids, especially if you've got kids that are struggling, they are playing out patterns from your example that they are using differently than you did, but yet it's still your pattern. And you can help free them from that pattern by making those changes yourself and giving their brain an option that they couldn't see before because you found it and you model it to them. And I'll tell you, it will change anyone's parenting it'll flip. I don't care how good of a parent you think you are. If your kids are acting well, you probably need it just as much or more than the parents whose kids are acting out. I just want to put it that way. It literally, if your kids are acting well, that does not uh, prove or show that they're doing well inside. that their programming inside is what you want it to be. They haven't faced life yet. So,
And I didn't come open and bear a witness to that. So, a year and a half ago, I learned that I fathered a child. Today, it's 42 years ago. And we met through DNA matching and everything. And this last year and a half, well, it's going on 2 years now, we have been a part of each other's lives wholeheartedly and stuff. I was with her, my grandkids, my great grandkids yesterday for Easter. And, you know, here, back to the parenting. I didn't raise her. She was raised actually by her grandparents because her mother struggled with drug addiction and stuff. And so she lived in this world, call it, of what
mhm.
she was living and stuff and struggling through things. And then we met and um, have bonded, got close to each other. And just this last January, she got an award through the local real estate board of affiliate of the year for the company that she works for.
Hmm.
And I leaned over to her after she got the award and I go, you know, could you imagine this 10 years ago? And she looks at me and she goes, Dad, no way. It was not even on the radar. My life would not be this way. And it keeps growing, our bond together, and me being the example. And I'm going to flip back to what you said about how you just walked away from everything because I, a couple of months ago, did the exact same thing. I retired from my day job, of which I didn't have any income to speak of other than I've applied for Social Security and I got a little bit of 401k and stuff, but it was to follow my passion of, again, helping the people within my world. And this is why I do what I'm doing, just because I know this is where I need to go. And it it's been the most amazing journey. You know, I think back to, we're coming up on 9 years ago for my accident, and I'm laying in the bed up at the University of Utah hospital, missing 60% of my hand. The husband, the father, the breadwinner, wondering what life was going to be like. And it hasn't been easy. There's been ups and downs, but the one thing I learned was to start knocking on doors and to just keep pursuing things. And each day has gotten better. And before we leave, and I'm going to be putting all of this into the show notes also, your event tomorrow night in Sandy, where is it at down there? For the people that can adjust their schedule and stuff, what are the links?
Yeah,
Add,
so I'll send you a link that you can share in your show notes that will give them the ability to go and sign up. And I have a code that I want them to remember and use, and I'll give that to you to give to them so that it discounts it because we normally have that priced at $50 and it will be discounted down to only $15 with the discount code. And that discount code is Thrive. because that's kind of our motto is the way to overcome all the other stuff is to get to where you're thriving in life. And so we use that code Thrive as a reminder. And then it's only $15 to come. Once someone signs themselves up, they can share a new link that will come to them through their email to someone else to come for free. So they can actually invite others for free after they've signed up. So we just want to get as many people as we can there. It's going to be, that link will show the exact address, but it's at a conference center at a hotel in Sandy called the Hyatt House. And so if they're able to come in person, let's, let's get them signed up. We're going to need to know how many people are coming. I think we're getting to be a pretty full house at this point. So we might have to open up to a second room, I think, because we've got a lot of people coming this time. And so yeah, we would want to know that as soon as possible. So, and that's coming up real soon. So,
But you also said that you're going to do it online live, correct?
yeah. So if they sign up for that and then they'll get a link, then when it goes live, they can ask for the live link and we'll message it to them so that they can get that link to come on and watch the live stream of it.
So just in case, if by chance things are full at the event,
Hmm.
you can still attend the event from your home.
Yes. Yeah. Or if you're out of state, I don't know where all your
Yeah,
listeners are. So
yeah.
if you
And
have people out
actually,
of state,
it blew this small town Utah boy away with the release of my book just recently. I found that it had gone to 15 different countries, which totally blew me away.
wow.
And,
Wow.
we just don't know what we don't know, the reach
Yeah.
of each one of us and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why, another reason why I do what I do,
Mhm.
because I'm helping people around the world.
Yeah. Isn't that
So
amazing?
it,
Well,
it
I was going to say, I'm just so glad that we crossed paths, that we met up and that we can support each other and help get this out to people because it's literally just what our brain is doing. And if we can help people see differently and therefore experience differently, give them power to change and be unstuck from anything that's going on. The one thing that we tell people is once they've been through our program, they will never be stuck with the feeling that they don't know what to do. There's always an option. They will know what that option is. They can tattoo it on their arm if they need to. because because the process we teach people is so simple and it gets to the core and it's about listening to our nervous system. And if we start to have something, that's because there's a message there. And it really is that simple. So I'm excited to meet your listeners and to hopefully see some of them there. And you know what? We'll have more in the future if somebody isn't going to make it this time. And if people know someone that they think could benefit from this, that maybe doesn't listen to your podcast, let's share it out. Let's get the word out and get in front of the people that need it.
and yes, that's what we will do. We'll put the links in the show notes. So if someone listens to this podcast on Wednesday, they at least know where to go to find future events or to do things online with you.
Yeah. And they can always look up fulfilllifeyourself.com. That's our website. So that has a lot of information on it there that they can go to. If you do a search for Fulfill Life Yourself, you'll find things all over the place. You'll find us on YouTube. You'll find us in social media with Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and a lot of those platforms. So I'm missing one. But anyway, but it's out there. We have a lot of videos out there. We have a lot of content that's out there for people who want to learn more. But nothing helps you learn more than experiencing it by coming to this particular event. This is really the way to have it to go deep in you and to have a deeper understanding. We're not really able to do that very well in a recording. It's kind of a in-person real-time thing that you have to experience for it to have that kind of impact. So So hopefully everybody can make it. And, you know, if not, reach out to us. We'll find a recording to send you, or we'll find a, or get you to the next one. So
Okay. Thank
thank
you
you
so
so much.
much. And we will get this going. Thanks,
Uh,
Lamont.
Thank you.